Once he's gone, the Lagos property is mine. I already called the realtor this morning.
You called the realtor?
Our father isn't even in the ground yet, Emeka. I'm being practical. Someone in this family has to be.
Practical? Is that what we're calling it now?
For 14 nights, Chidi sat by his window and watched his children argue in the courtyard below over the diamond business, over the mansion, over a future they assumed was already theirs. Elder Chidi was a man of immense wealth, built from the red dust of his village to the glass towers of Lagos. But as his breath grew shallow, it wasn't death that weighed on him. It was what he saw in the eyes of his children. Downstairs, his eldest son had already called a realtor about the Lagos property, certain the paperwork would be his within weeks. His daughter scolded him for moving too fast, but not because it was wrong, only because it was too soon to be seen doing it. His youngest son simply watched them both, saying nothing, learning everything. They were not mourning a father. They were dividing an inheritance he hadn't even left yet. And little did they know, the old man upstairs, watching them from his window, still had one final lesson to teach. 40 years earlier, Chidi had nothing but a bicycle, a strong back, and a promise he made to himself in the dark, that no child of his would ever know hunger. He kept that promise. He built it with his own hands, first a trading stall, then a warehouse, then a diamond export business that carried his name across 2 continents. His children never queued for water, never wore second-hand shoes. His eldest studied business in London. His daughter trained as an interior designer in Paris. His youngest never finished any single thing he started, but he never needed to. Their father's money always arrived before the consequences did. In his final weeks, a nurse adjusted his oxygen line while his daughter checked her watch, impatient for a meeting with the accountant. His son took a phone call in the corner, discussing square footage as if his father were already gone. Chidi heard every word. He said nothing. He had learned over 68 years that the loudest lessons are the ones taught in silence and then delivered all at once. 2 weeks before he died, Chidi made a phone call. Not to a doctor, to his lawyer. He asked for the matter to be handled quietly. No leaks. Not even his own driver should know. When his lawyer asked if he was certain, warning that this would change everything for his children, Chidi answered without hesitation. His children had hands, he said, but they had forgotten how to walk. They had hearts, but they had forgotten how to love. It was time they learned, while he was still alive, to see whether they could. For 14 nights, Chidi sat by his window and watched his children argue in the courtyard below, over the diamond business, over the mansion, over a future they assumed was already theirs. He watched and he wrote and he signed. By the time the ink dried, Elder Chidi's entire fortune belonged to no one in that house. Not yet. Not to anyone who hadn't earned it. Before we go further, if you were in Chidi's position, watching the people you raised circle your wealth like vultures, would you have done the same thing? Type yes or no in the comments. I want to see where you stand before the will is read. Subscribe to Tales of Africa Studio and like this video. The funeral was grand. White canopies, a choir, a eulogy that used the word legacy 11 times. But the real ceremony hadn't started yet. That began in the library, an hour after the last guest left. The lawyer opened with Chidi's own words, that he left his children the memories of every lesson he had tried to teach them while he lived, and whether they had received those lessons was now theirs to discover. Then he set down the folder. He did not reach for a deed. He reached for a stack of receipts. He told them plainly, the mansion on Victoria Island, the diamond export company, the commercial properties in Lagos and Abuja. All of it had been transferred 3 weeks earlier in full to the Motherless Babies Home of Enugu and the Chidi Village Scholarship Trust. The eldest son shot to his feet, insisting it wasn't possible, that half of the paperwork on that property already carried his name. The lawyer answered quietly that the paperwork had never been finalized and that Chidi had known that long before his son did. The daughter pressed her hand to her mouth, asking if anything remained, a car, an account, anything at all. The lawyer told her there was one thing left, a letter. Their father had asked that it be read last. He unfolded a single handwritten page and read it aloud in Chidi's own words. That he had not given his life's work to strangers because he stopped loving his children, but because he loved them enough to stop ruining them. They had been waiting for his death to begin their lives. He had simply moved the starting line. Rage came first. The eldest son called 3 more lawyers before sundown, each one giving him the same answer. The transfer was airtight, witnessed, and irreversible. His sister didn't call anyone. She sat with her father's letter until the library grew dark around her. It was the youngest, the one who had finished nothing in his life, who finally spoke the truth none of them wanted to say out loud, that their father hadn't been punishing them. He had simply been the only one in that house who was still trying to raise them. Months later, a new building rose in Chidi's home village. A scholarship school, fully funded, its gates never locked to a child who wanted to learn. A plaque was mounted by the entrance, small and unpolished, exactly as Chidi had requested. It read, "Built by the sweat of a father, dedicated to the future of the humble." Elder Chidi did not die, leaving his children nothing. He died leaving them the one inheritance he had always hoped they'd claim on their own, the need to build something themselves. In the end, his wealth didn't go to those who shared his blood. It went to those who shared his struggle. A year later, when a modest trading company opened its doors in Lagos under the name Chidi and Sons, funded not by inheritance but by 3 siblings' first honest savings, those who knew the old man swore they could still feel him smiling from wherever he now rested. So let me leave you with this. If everything you own vanished tomorrow, not stolen, just gone, would the people closest to you still be standing beside you? Or would they already be on the phone with a realtor? Tell me honestly in the comments, was Elder Chidi right to test his children this way, or did he go too far? And if this story moved you, subscribe and turn on notification button. There is another tale of Africa waiting for you.